Hello. How are you this evening? This is Lawrence, of course, from financialthing.com. Couple of seconds late there on the live button, but you know, that's just what happens anyways. Hope you are having a wonderful week. Thank you again for joining. Let me just move the chair. Oh. Thank you again for tuning in. We're going to talk this evening about, well, as you can see, it's daytime here. Very, very balmy, 32 degrees here in Orlando. Ugh, it's hot. We're going to talk peer-to-peer lending tonight. We're going to have a look at the Lendy administration report that came out. Kind of have a brief swift through it and see what's going on with the administration debacle. Well, I don't know if it's debacle, but I would say the whole thing's been a bit of a debacle. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to look at the Trading 212 portfolio, do a little bit of peer-to-peer lending news. I'm going to look at a Blend deal that's being offered right now. I was having a look at Blend Network's offerings and found a very, very interesting piece of information about one of their deals. It's amazing what you can find when you have a dig around inside some of these loan deals, but we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to talk about retirement. Can we talk about retirement this evening? Interested to know what your thoughts are. How many of you out there are retired? Retirement has been something that I've been thinking about recently, not because I'm in the position at 51 years old to be able to retire, but something that's been on my mind, try to plan a little bit further in the future, and something that when I was younger I never really thought about, as I think you don't when you're young. You always think that you're going to be young forever. But my question to you is, how many of you out there watching are actually retired, and how did you do it? It seems like it's a more difficult thing to achieve nowadays with the rising costs of goods and services, inflation, and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to talk about retirement. Is that okay? We can talk about retirement. And a couple of emails from the email bin too that I thought were interesting over the last week. So we'll have a look at those too. So quick word from our sponsor, of course, Cufflink. Oh, no, that's not right. Yeah, that's an old graphic. But we do have a couple of guests upcoming too, by the way, which I'll tell you about. But quick word from our sponsor. There you go. Cufflink up to 10.25%. Got a tickle. Gross interest per annum. Over £330 million invested since 2016. And zero investor losses to date. Certainly won't always be zero, but right now it is, so they claim. Capital is at risk. Please don't invest unless you're prepared to lose money. Please check rates on the Cufflink's website, as rates do change. Sign up at the link in the description or go to join.cufflink.com/financial-thing. Big shout out and a big thank you to Cufflink, Narinda, and his team for sponsoring the YouTube channel. And of course the Harley Cam. She is deep in slumber mode, not particularly enjoying the Florida heat at the moment, as I think most dogs don't, but that's what you get for living in a tropical climate. Quick hello to everybody in the chat. How are you doing, chat? The Croydon Freemasons. Hello, Croydon Freemasons. Nice to see you. My dad was a Freemason. I don't know if I ever told the stream that, but yeah, Dad was a Freemason. I'm not a Freemason, but he was, and he loved it. Dave Dawson is here from Staffordshire. Colin Perry in the Peak District. Paul New from a sunny and warm Stockport. Peter Vince from a lovely sunny evening in Leatherhead. I heard it's been very hot in the UK over the last couple of days or a week. Stephen Haling, Nottingham. Mark Mason is here. Hello, Mark. Alan Stratford is here. Hello, welcome. Yeah, tell me about retirement. It really is something that fascinates me. It almost feels unachievable, a little bit scary, but I'd love to know who out there is and is not retired. yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So hang out for this interesting stream. Let's get into a little bit of news first, as I press the right button and zoom in. For those who like a nice picture there of the funding circle lady, I don't know her name. Oh, Lisa Jacobs. There you go. Wow, that's funny. I used to know a girl called Olivia Jacobs. I don't think they're related. Funding Circle sells its US arm for £33 million to focus on the UK. Funding Circle has sold off its US business to iBusiness Funding for £33 million. The London-listed small and medium enterprise lender has revealed its plans to offload the division in March, after its latest annual results showed a loss on a group level despite a stronger profit in UK loans. I can't read tonight. I don't know what's wrong with me. But Funding Circle has gross assets of £89 million as of the end of 2023. It contributed £23 million of losses to the overall group in its latest annual results. In March, I announced that we were simplifying, not me, this is what Lisa Jacobs said. She announced they were simplifying the business by exiting the US and focusing on profitable growth in the UK business. That's very smart. She's a chief executive of Funding Circle, Miss Jacobs, or Mrs. Jacobs. She also says alongside the UK restructuring actions announced in May, we are continuing to execute against this plan with the sale of the US business to IBF. Isn't IBF? Oh no, IBS. Irritable bowel syndrome. Wrong one. The UK business is on track to be profitable in the second half, in line with our guidance. Is it really, though? Over the medium term, we expect net income growth of 15 to 20%. Blah, blah, blah. IBF is a US business lender with specialization in small businesses, whereby the loans are guaranteed by the government. Is processed over $6 billion in Small Business Administration, that is the SBA, loans to date. And for anybody that decided to dip their toe into the Funding Circle shares, which I said was not a particularly good idea, I said that years ago. You can see here, start at 400 and something, 442p. And right now, my head is kind of covering it up, but the price I think is about 98p. And it's just really, ever since the big fall in September of 2019, here, up a little bit, but generally it's just been floundering for the best part of 4 years. So hopefully you didn't buy Funding Circle shares, even though you might have been a big Funding Circle fan. But yeah, not such a great result for them. Talk about Mintos dropped a little bit of news. They are thrilled to introduce Mintos Smart Cash. So if you're a European investor in peer-to-peer lending, you're in this platform, you can put now any cash that's sitting in your account into their money market fund, the MMF, which is managed by BlackRock, the massive U.S. investment fund and management company. They are going to pay you a high interest rate, which I don't think is very high, but they say 3.75% interest paid monthly. That's a bit of a misleading line right there, and people understand this is 3.75% a year. They don't write that. It actually looks like they pay 3.75% each month, but that's not true. But it goes into a low volatility investment, the AAA rated money market fund managed by BlackRock. So basically the same thing that Wise is doing, where you can earn up to 4.85% a year with their interest feature if you have money just sitting around in your account, no matter the currency, whether it's dollars or pounds. And also Trading 212 also does the same thing, which you can actually take advantage of some of the higher interest rates on Trading 212 if you convert your money over to some of these currencies. Like you could convert your money from British pounds over to, I think that's the Hungarian, is it? The HUF. or the Polish zloty, you can get 6%. Just be aware that obviously these currencies can be more volatile. So I think not financial advice, of course, but you're better off taking, I think, the 5.2% of the British pound interest or the 5.1% on the US dollar. You can see here euros are quite almost a percentage point less. But if you do have money sitting around in Mintos, they will now you can choose to have it in a very liquid fund managed by BlackRock, so you get paid 3.75%. I think it's a good idea. I think this is something that's needed in a lot of these companies where they have cash just sitting in the accounts and you're not getting paid any interest. Of course, that's why we always complain in peer-to-peer about cash drag, money sitting around, not doing anything. Now some of these companies are starting to realize that people do want to get a little bit of return on that cash that's sitting around, even if it's just a couple, 2, 3, 4%. Let's take a look at LoanPad. Do a quick update. Oh, by the way, a little bit of housekeeping as far as guests go. Put it on your calendar on July 18th. We're going to have Louis here from LoanPad, the CEO, live July 18th. And I think the second or third week in August, we're going to have Peter Reed from Assets Exchange here. And working on a couple of other guests too, live for the stream for the summer. But July 18th, put it in your calendar. Louis is always a great guest. He always very transparent, tells it like it is. I think it's good to have him here. But quick LoanPad update. You can see here that they've increased the lending partners now to 18. So added another lending partner while keeping this loan to value still at a very reasonable 41%. And the average lender amount has ticked up a little bit now to over £17,000. So that means, the average lender. Of course, this is not a median number, but this is average. Some people have way more than 17 grand invested. Some people have less. And total now amount of LoanPad loans, £92 million. That's increased a little bit. And still estimated time to sell and invest less than 1 day. So they are going in the right direction. LoanPad, they continue to grow and take their peer-to-peer lending loan book to the moon. No, not to the moon, but in a positive direction. Also, I've get a couple of emails about availability. Some people complaining, there isn't enough loans around. Well, I would say now is actually more availability in peer-to-peer loans than there has been in quite a while. I was looking around in the Cufflink website just this week and seeing there is availability there on loans. So if you are looking to put your money to work, some of the platforms do have quite a good amount of lending ability. You've got loans here that are paying 10.26% on a B1 loan. That's a tier 3. Just make sure you understand what you're getting invested into as far as what these ratings of risk mean, and also the tiers, because tier 3 is placed behind tier 2, which is placed behind tier 1. So you're going to get a little bit more money. As you can see, the higher the tier, the more interest you are estimated to be paid. So this tier 2 loan on Spearpoint Gardens is going to get 0.6% more than the tier 1, just because the risk is a little bit more. If something happens to the loan, tier 1 gets priority over tier 2. And you can see that's why this tier 3 is at 10.26%, because it is in a riskier position. Check this one out, Dixon Street. This is a commercial deal, 9.16% on tier 1 versus 10.26% on tier 3. But quite a bit of availability there. I think there's 23. Come on, load up. Yeah, you've got about 23 different deals, but not different, but 23 different options to put your money to work. So if you have money, oh no, these are. Looks like these ones are filled up. But yeah, there is availability there on Cufflink, and there is on a few different sites that I've looked at. Speaking of deals, let's take a look at. Should we take a look at well, actually, we'll do that in a minute. This is a Blend newsletter that came out that said new research summarized today reveals that nearly 3 in 5 high net worth investors plan to significantly increase their overall investment allocation to real estate in the next 12 months. The research revealed that 1 in 5 high net worth investors plan to increase their current real estate investment risk tolerance, while 17% plan to decrease. The research highlighted that the biggest challenges facing the real estate market, according to high net worth investors in the next 12 months, is higher interest rates, changes in political leadership, increased regulation, and changes to the tax system. 13% felt housing should be the number one priority for an incoming government. Kind of obvious things there that will obviously affect the real estate market is the interest rates, taxation, stamp duty is very costly. If you're buying an investment property or a rental property, you've got to pay that government whack on the wrist. It's a slap. It's a pretty nasty slap compared to if you're buying a house to live in for your primary home. But so yeah, the government's always going to get their taxes. So those are some headwinds that real estate investors do face. But I think as you start to see the interest rates start to come down, there will be more and more developers doing projects on these peer-to-peer lending platforms. So more loans will be available. Let's take a look at a deal on Blend that they have right now. I don't tend to go and look at singular deals too much, but I think it's interesting to see what kind of things that Blend offers. Not one I personally invest through myself, but I think they got some good offerings. Not financial advice. This is Tranche 4 of Keysfield, so this is a project that has been in the works and is being built currently, so you're in Tranche 4, but you can get a rate of, well, it looks like, has it already been funded? I just got this email this morning, so it looks like it's already been funded, but a rate of 10%, term of 16 months. Now, this is a very interesting property. This was Tranche 4, £400,000 amount for the fourth tranche of a 3.348 million pound overall loan facility. I'm sure you know what tranches are, but for those that don't, when projects are being built, the developers get their money in little slices, so they don't get it all at once. Usually it's pieced out depending on how well they're doing on the overall project and how far it's been progressing. So this is tranche number 4. Sometimes these tranches can go much, there could be 5, 6, 7 tranches. What was interesting about this project, though, was seeing where it is, first of all, which is Paynton, actually not too far away from my home area over here of Dorset, blum, blum, blum. But you see right here, it's in a coastal area near Torquay. So a good spot generally for apartments. But what was interesting when I Googled the address, check this out. This site used to be a murder house. Imagine that. It was also linked to prostitution. This was an article that was posted on Devon Live. I presume it to be true. I don't know if it's true, but apparently this area was a crime hit house. It says it was once the scene of a murder. And the plan here, it says, for Old Victorian Villa at 3 Keysfield Road was to be redeveloped into 14 new apartments, and that was approved by Torbay's Council, so that was back in July of 2023. Blah, blah, blah. The old villa became notorious when it was used as a house of multiple occupation, an HMO. Not my favorite real estate offerings. They tend to be full of troubles. The house had attracted antisocial behavior for several years and was the scene of a murder in 2000. It was damaged in a fire, and police issued a closure order in 2010 following complaints from neighbors about the behavior of residents, including drug taking and prostitution. So imagine that house was I mean, it looks like it's been vacant for, if you talk about 2010, maybe 10 to 12 years before anything was even decided about it. It's a shame. It was a large detached Victorian villa dating from the 1870s, which had fallen into disrepair, had a bit of bad landscaping, issues going on. But it's funny that that building popped up into Blend as part of it. Of course, it wouldn't mention anything about that because it's probably pretty irrelevant since the building is being knocked down. But further looking at this project, I like Blend because they offer a lot of documents, a lot of information about the properties. You can see here the facility of 3.348 million into 14 apartments. I like the detailed loan breakdown that they offered, and you could really see exactly where the fees were going to. You can see how much Blend made on this deal, £40,176. An arrangement 3 of £33,480, so that goes usually to the broker that brings the deal to someone like Blend. Then you got a lot of professional fees. Look at this, $90,000 in professional fees, $30,000 in other fees. Fees. And then an interest reserve of £494,000. And in the valuation report, which, where is that? Here we go. The numbers really do make sense. And, if you are investing any significant amounts of money into any of these peer-to-peer lending deals, it's always good to look at these valuations. These valuations talk about risk and what are the risks of the development. But, look at this, stamp duty plus 1.5%. I bet that was a bit of a painful amount for the developers to pay. But if we go down to the sold properties around the area, you can see these are the 14 apartments. And if I find it, come on. Here are some of the properties that have sold around the area. 2-bed flats, 285,000, 325,000, 311,000, 345,000. So you can see kind of in the mid 300s would probably be the right amount for those flats. If you do the math on that, you say, well, if you took, say, 300 times 14, you were about, 4.2 million. But some of those flats have sea views also, so they're going to be worth a little bit more. You can see here, these are the estimations of the flat sales. So here, the low, you've got some in the 300,000 for the smaller flats, and then all the way up to 425 for the most expensive, which has got the panoramic second floor sea view. So the gross development value, I think, is about 5.2 million. There you go, 5.15 million. It seems to be accurate compared to what these other flats have sold for, and I presume these flats are not all new builds. Yeah, this one's a new build. Sold for 475. So, yeah, I mean, those numbers, again, not financial advice, but they do seem to add up and make sense. Always the unknown factor about these loans and these builds is that you just don't quite know what difficulties the builders are going to run into when they're constructing these things. And also costs and goods of services can also go up. I was talking to a roofer this morning who told me that every year they tend to get about a 5 to 7% increase on building materials. So I don't know if they factor that into these projects or not. But yeah. And Blend also, when they offer deals like this, they have an update section where they usually provide, see if they do that here, if I can find it. I know they provide photos of the project. Where is it? Come on. Yeah, here you go. So this is the investment pack. They provide details about the project. See here they're loaning 3.3 million. So if they do achieve 5.15 million, that's a pretty good loan to value. this is what's going on at the project here. You can see the build photos to see that things are actually moving forward. I know Blend does check up on those. So that kind of due diligence, even though that's pretty basic due diligence, you know, if I was actually putting a good amount of money into it, I would certainly do a little bit more than that. Check those sales out manually and whatnot. Just don't take everything for what these reports say as being the 100% truth, but generally I think Blend is on the up and up, and they do provide really good information. So you got to be quick on those Blend deals. They sell out quickly. See if there's any other loans available. No, they just go so fast, like they're all funded, so you got to get on that quickly. And that's, I guess that's one of the downsides. I mean, it's a good thing in a way because it shows that, see, these loans are popular and people want them. But if you are trying to get into them, it's probably super, super frustrating. Guess that's why you use the auto lend to try to get in on some of those loans. But it seems like manual investing is going to be pretty difficult to accomplish. Let's see what else we got. Let's take a look at the Lendy. Where is it? Lendy. No, Lendy. Come on. There we go. We got the administration progress report. This is the big one that comes out every 6 months. I hope my highlighted stuff is still. Yeah, there we go. I did take a quick skim through. See, this is a administration that's been going on for a while now, since 2019. So now we're coming into year 5. Retention fund is just some notes that I made out of the administration report. It's pages and pages long, so I'm not going to bore you with everything, but the administrators will retain 25% of their net realizations in respect of each M2 loan and a retention fund. The fund will be used to pay and combined costs of the administration, so costs that are not solely attributable to the administration estate. So basically they're taking 25% of the money and keeping it in a retention fund to pay costs. There are currently 5 development loans outstanding with a value of £7 million. There have been 4 gross realizations in the reporting period, so they are still realizing some loans, which is a good thing, right? So they are making progress, even though a lot of the money that's coming in is being sucked out into fees. It says there are currently 5 property bridging loans with an outstanding value of £4 million. One of these live loans, one have formally insolvency proceedings against them. That's not great. There have been 3 gross realizations in the reporting period. Further realizations are being pursued. As noted above, combined costs, the joint administrators realized combined costs totaling £1.69 million. They have taken that from the retention fund as agreed by the M2 committee, so a lot of money being paid out. As we continue through all the information, there is still 1,326 of you investors out there who have not been able to pass the anti-money laundering checks, which you need to pass so you can get your money out. There's £762,000 of money just sat there, so I don't know what's going on with those people, if they just have been lazy or filled out the information wrong, but you need to go in there and get that sorted. That's £762,000 of money that you could get. Look at this. They have £21.481 million in cash now in the client account. I know some of that is going to be paid out from the realizations of the loan, so hopefully you should be getting some money soon. $11.74 million is being held in the client account relating to funds that will be distributed to investors into the retention fund. So, yes, more money hopefully coming. And again, I always get asked, how much do you think is going to come back of the total of Lendy? I think My guesstimation is probably about 15%. So if you put in $1,000, you're probably going to get about 150 back, maybe 200 if you're lucky. That's if you're invested over a multiple amount of different loans. If you just were picking one or two loans, obviously your results will be different. Some loans have had better realization results than others. Continuing on, investigations. In accordance with legislation, the appropriate documentation in relation to the conduct of the directors has been filed. This work done only leads to a financial return to creditors if any rights of action become visible during the course of the investigation, which leads to recovery for the benefit of the estate. As mentioned in the realization of assets section, a settlement agreement was reached between the parties for payment of £3.4 million in full settlement of the claims. As noted above, $2.028 million has been received to date, and a further $1.372 million is due to be paid. We're in correspondence with the respondents in respect to payments of the outstanding sums. I'm sure there's some of you out there that are way more familiar with this report than I am. But what I'm taking that to mean is that if any of directors of the companies that borrowed the money have acted incorrectly, then that's where that money is coming back from and will hopefully be paid out to investors. Let's see. Assets remaining to be realized. Final recoveries in respect of the director's actions. So that's what we just talked about. End of the administration. It's not possible to ascertain at present when the administration will end. Oh, imagine that. It's been 5 years. They're probably going to take another 5 years to exit this administration, because why wouldn't they? The fees keep racking up. Let's go down a little further into this massively long document that I'm sure many hundreds of hours of fees were generated to create this beautiful document. You can see here, time costs, 105,252 pounds of time costs, and that was one loan for the treatment of DFL, Development Loan 002. So, yeah, those are the fees for you. We've got heavy legal fees, heavy administration fees. And you can see here at the bottom, let's keep going down. Down. These are all the charts if you care to read it. Post-appointment time analysis, cumulative. This is time cost analysis for the period of the 24th of May 2019 to the 23rd of May 2024. Here we go. Total time costs, £6,088,000 time cost. Ouch. That's money that's coming from the investors from any realizations from these loans that are able to be recovered. And then there is information about all the different loans that are going through the system, what's going on with them. If you care to read through it loan by loan, you can. It's crazy that this thing is just going to take such a long time to resolve itself. And I will say that it's not necessarily the fault of the administrators that it takes such a long time. When you have that many different loans, you can imagine dealing with these property development loans that are sometimes in administration themselves. It can be very, very time consuming and difficult. For anybody that's dealt with the legal system, you know that the wheels move very, very slowly, but unfortunately, those fees just keep racking up from the administrators and the lawyers itself. This is the cash that was on hand right here. Closing cash balance of May 2024 is $21.48 million. So a lot of cash in the bank at the moment. And total recovery is now £62 million of total recoveries. Total receipts now £63.83 million because you got a couple of other things that are added on there. And then the fees are just expensive. The legal costs right here. I think this is the total direct costs. Look at this. Total direct costs 5.1 million. Direct costs associated with the settlement agreement 70,785. It's a lot of money. A lot of money paid out in costs, just part of the administration. But good to take a look every 6 months if you're interested in that report. And you are a Lendy investor, you can obviously go take a read of that. So, let's see what else we got here. I had an email. Now I got to find the email. Here's the email. Let's talk about retirement. Again, I'm extremely fascinated by retirement. It's something that's, I kind of fantasize about it, you know. There are some people out there that decide, I want to work until I'm 100 years old. There's other people out there that, like me, were always looking for a way of freedom, right? When my dad was diagnosed with cancer the first time, so he had cancer twice, but he was 66 years old the first time. I think he retired at 64. So 2 years after his retirement, he was diagnosed with his first bout of cancer. And I always think about that, and I always think about these people that say, well, I want to work because I just want to get more money and more money and more money. And I'm not of that pattern of thinking myself. Of course, if you are, that's totally fine. But I think freedom and enjoyment of time is pretty important. So I really fantasize about retirement, but I also feel like it's become more difficult. And a lot of that is because things have just gotten more expensive, and the amount of money that you need to retire now is a lot different from where it was 10 years ago. So I got an interesting email that happened to come through, and it's a retirement question. It says, Lawrence, hello, mate. How are you? I'm fine. Thank you very much. I've been enjoying the streams of late. I actually like the non-peer-to-peer related content, so keep on keeping on, please. I shall keep on keeping on, just for you. I'm 58 years old and considering retiring before the social norm age of 62. My health is average, but I have about 500,000 pounds in savings, investments, and Dex Trackers. Thank you very much for putting me on the right track 6 years ago. You're welcome. And I can collect state pension at 62. Am I crazy? What do you think? Much love, Des in Cardiff. Des, you didn't really provide much information about your situation aside of your savings. Like, do you have any other income? How much are your expenses every month? So I have to sort of make some assumptions to give you an answer. Of course, not financial advice. I have to keep saying that, but, you know, not financial advice, Des. First of all, no, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think 58 is a fine year to retire if you can do it. You're still young enough to go do things, you know. Imagine waiting to be 70, 75 to retire and then being in such bad health that you can't go walk up a hill. I mean, the average life expectancy age now, I think, for a male is 78 years old. So if you retire at 70 and you live to be the average age, you've got 8 years of freedom and retirement. That doesn't sound that great to me. So 58 sounds a lot better. I'll give you 20 years. But the real question is, can you afford to do it? There's been some pretty interesting studies on retirement that I found. This is a article on Edward Jones's website about what kind, and this is in dollars, but you could put this into pounds. I don't think it matters. The average age retirement savings by year. So they're using data to come up with this amount that they think you're going to have when you're a certain age. This was the Federal Reserve study of consumer finances from 1989 to 2019. So this is showing at what age people had what. I think this is going to be a different number now. We're almost, 7 years later. But 30,170 for people 35 and under. And I think most of, when you think about retirement, you're probably looking in this blue circle here. So 426,000 US dollars. Of course, US gets the Social Security, which may or may not be there in the future. but kind of like the UK has its pension, the US has Social Security. So according to this, if we were looking at just this number, Des, you are okay with your 500,000 UK pounds in savings and investments. You also have to think about what it is you're going to be spending, which, again, I don't know what it is what that looks like for you, but I did find a pretty cool retirement calculator. And again, it's in pounds. I mean, it's in dollars, but you can, think of this in pounds. It's the same way. So if we put in Dez's number at 58, this is the problem. I don't know what his income is. So if I presume it's 50,000 pre-tax, and he's got 500 grand in retirement savings, is he going to put in any monthly contributions? I don't know the answer, but let's say he puts in 500 pounds a month, and his monthly budget in retirement is 3,000. I don't know if that's high or low for him. Let's presume that he's going to pay off his mortgage with zero other retirement income. So this calculator would say, and this is him retiring at 62. So let's put in 58. Let's say he wants to retire now, and his life expectancy is say 85. Because, well, let's put, we're going to give Des a few extra years because we're feeling generous. Pre-retirement rate of return, 6%. I think that's reasonable if he keeps his index trackers going. And then inflation rate, 3%. I think that's low. I think that probably should be 4. I don't think 3 is a reasonable number anymore. Let's see if Des makes it. Hang on. Let's put his retirement at 59 because it's not allowing us to do that. Does Des make it? No, this calculator says, Des, you're going to need 933,000 in order to make this retirement. So, Des, it doesn't look like you'll be able to do it unless you had more money or you cut your budget for retirement. So maybe you don't have a mortgage, maybe your expenses are 2,500. You still need 710. So let's see what monthly expenses Des needs to get down to retire. He's going to need to get his expenses down to about 1,800 pounds or dollars or whatever you want to say to be able to retire. So that's going to be a difficult one, Des. I think you're going to need a little bit more money. But I definitely don't think you're crazy. I think that having a goal to be able to retire early is a good thing for most people. And especially if your health isn't that good, you say average health. That means that, unfortunately, your life expectancy might not be to 85. So maybe it's 78. If it's 78, then you're going to need a lot less money to live on in retirement. You only need 391,000 at $1,800 or pounds for your monthly living expenses. The other thing you can do, Des, you could take more risk. If you wanted to try to get a 10% pre-retirement rate by maybe using some riskier investments, you would need a considerably less amount of money, 391,000. Then that would allow you to bump up this monthly budget to, let's see, not 22,000 a month, 2,000 a month, or 2,300 a month. So this is a pretty good calculator. It's at nerdwallet.com. If you just Google that, you'll see the calculator. But you can plug in those numbers and see where you can get to. I think one of the biggest problems that many people are scared about with retirement, and by the way, I'd love to read your comments on this. Are you retired right now? And if not, what's your planned expected age to hit retirement? I'm hoping mine is going to be 58. I think Des is onto something with that number. I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows? We'll see. I think you need a lot of money to retire 58 nowadays. One of the biggest things that I found is the expenses of actually really what is going on with how prices have increased and what's it gonna be like in 5 years. And I found this really good video. I think this sums up what I feel. And I've always said to you that I think inflation numbers are grossly underestimated when the government shows you, what these inflation numbers are. This is the UK. So you can see CPI, right? 12-month rate right here in this column. It shows 8.7 in May of 2023, and now May of 2024 showing 2.0. I just don't think that the inflation rates are as low as we're being told they are. I really don't. This video right here, turn on your volume because I think it's a really great video. And we're just going to play it to you very quickly. It's just 50 seconds.
I feel like I'm going to be sick. I just, looked through my Walmart history, and I found this, Walmart order from 2 years ago for the whole month worth of groceries. 45 items cost $126. A whole month of groceries just for me, basically. But I did notice this reorder all button, and I wanted to see how much it would cost now.
Look at that, $414 for the same exact items from 2 years prior.
This order of 45 items for 1 month would have cost $414. That is 4 times more. How the fuck? How? What?
So that's pretty interesting that same order of supermarket items again in the US, but the same thing's happening in England. You try to order exactly the same things as you did 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, you're going to see how much prices have really increased. And a lot of these retirement calculators, the problem is they don't take into account inflation. Now this one is good because it does account for inflation, but a lot of them don't. So by the way, you have to click on this advanced details tab to get that type of information. Sorry about the swearing in the video too, by the way. But yeah, if you click on that account details, you can change this inflation number here. So imagine, right, the UK government says 2%. You're only going to need 412, right? 412,000. But if you increase that to 4%, that number goes to 499. So you can see how damaging just a 2% increase of inflation is for people in retirement and how they're trying to get to that number. If we put that number more to 6%, as I think that might actually be a low number for what real inflation is, but now you're at 610,000. So how damaging just even a 1% rise of inflation is on cost of goods and services can create for people who are trying to retire and grossly underestimate how much money they actually need to be able to hit that retirement number. There's been some pretty interesting studies in the UK too about average UK retirement ages by profession. You see obviously the wealthy are going to be able to retire probably easier and lesser ages. So doctors' retirement age 59 average for men and women, police retirement 60, standard pension for firemen 60, teachers 55 to 60, shout out to all the teachers out there, RAF 60. Now I think that obviously doctors are going to be able to retire earlier than that age. I think this is just kind of average numbers, but there's been some interesting studies at this website I found. It's called ifs.org. I think it's the Institute of Financial Studies, talking about some of the things that are going on in the retirement and what's going on, some of the challenges in the UK pension situation. So, for example, this article is The Future of the State Pension in the UK. The state pension can be claimed from age 66. So I don't know why Des was talking about 62. He's wrong about that. 66. And look at this, rising to 67 by 2028. So this is another thing that you have to also remember about state pensions, is that if the government decides they need to increase that because they don't have enough money to pay it, they can do so, and they have done so. So now they've increased it from 66 to 67. I don't know what it was prior to that change. I don't know if it was an earlier age than that. I know in the U.S. they're trying to increase the year you can take your Social Security pension now to higher because they don't have enough money to pay out this pension. And don't ever think for a second that there's not a possibility that these state pensions are no longer available to people. I know that you think that could never happen, but it certainly could. If there isn't the money to pay out and the government decides they can't pay it out, they won't pay it out. But right now, you're not going to get that pension until 67, and it's currently worth £203 a week. It says the state pension is an important source of income across the income distribution, although more important for poorer households. Seems obvious. For example, among households with someone aged 66 to 70 where no one is in paid work, the state pension makes up 71% of income for the poorest fifth and 23% for the richest fifth. So, government spending on social security payments to pensioners in the UK is expected to be £152 billion in 2023. That's 5.9% of the national income. The challenges include the aging population, which will be considerable pressure on public finances in the coming decades. So if the average age starts to increase, that means the government has to pay out state pensions for longer, which means they have less money to do so, even though they are spending like they shouldn't be. Let's not get into that. The pressures due to health and social care are much bigger, with spending projected to rise by 4.1% of national income over the same period. So the government's going to have to reach in their pockets to pay out more. If the government wants to rein in state pension spending, then relying only on raising the state pension age to achieve this, rather than moving to less generous indexation, would hit those with lower life expectancy harder. So imagine if the government said, oh, well, we don't think 67 is the right year, maybe let's change it to 68, 69 years old, then that's going to be a bit of a problem for people looking to get that state pension. Despite its newfound simplicity, there is a mixture of confusion and permission about the state pension. There are still people that believe that the state pension will not exist in 30 years' time. I don't think that's such a crazy thing, right? I don't think that's such a crazy thing. There are also people that think that the state pension is not increasing every year, but it does. It matches the inflation increase. So inflation goes up 2%, the state pension goes up 2%. Yeah, and you can read, if you're interested in stuff like this, you read all about it on the ifs.org.uk. Just search for future state pensions. Just know this, by the way, the government has no benefit from you retiring early. I found this really interesting article on the US's, where is it? Let me find it. Here we go. This is crazy to me. Look at this. This is the Office of Social Security, and this was published in 2001 of August. This is an article that's titled Links Between Early Retirement and Mortality. Can you believe that? So they've published this article basically pushing that if you retire early, you are more likely to die. Right? Well, the reason why they posted that is because they don't want people to retire early. If you retire early, guess what happens? You don't pay as much tax into the government's pockets. And then the government doesn't have as much money to pay out state pensions or Social Security in the U.S. And the fact that they would post a article like this on the Social Security government's website is really, really, really eye-opening. So what the government wants you to do is they want you to work until basically you die, so you can continue to pay into the tax system to support other people, right? Now, I'm not against some social welfare. I think there's people that do need it, maybe people that are disabled, elderly, they don't have enough money, they can't work, they need help. But the taxation system is very crippling to certain, especially the middle class in the UK and both America. Middle class is being really clamped down on right now because of the high taxation rates that are being experienced. I think it's a little worse in the UK than the US. But yeah, the government wants you to work until you're basically 100 years old so you can continue to pay into that system. So, retirement is a very, very interesting topic of conversation. I would say, back to your question, Geordie in Bradford, that you should definitely try to retire. Number one, your state pension is not at 62, it's 66. I don't think you're crazy for wanting to retire early. I always think about the people that die in their 50s. Focus on your health. We could talk a little bit about that too. Just a couple of minutes too, but focus on your health. Retire when you can. Use that calculator on nerdwallet.com and figure out where you are and what you need to get to that point. If you want to retire, it sounds like you do. If you enjoy working and you want to work till you're 100, more power to you. Certainly not in my plans, even though I'll probably still do the stream, so don't get too worried. By the way, look at this debt clock. This is the UK's debt right now, 3.7 billion pounds of debt, which is, you can see here, this is the problem right here. The gross domestic product in the UK is 3.4 million, but the spending and the debt is now 3.7 million. So you got this deficit of about 300 million pounds a year, which is creating this big problem. Much worse in the US. Look at this, 3.4 trillion debt, 2.85 trillion in gross domestic product. Big problem. That's where all the money printing comes from. So Des, go for it. Find out how you can retire early. Funny article, Japanese man dies, not funny for him, but he dies after retirement party hijinks. This is back in 2008. 60-year-old man was thrown up in the air in celebration at his retirement party, but he died after his colleagues failed to catch him and he fell to the floor. So there you go. Let's see. Quickly, because we're coming up on an hour. Trading 212 portfolio. We finally had a win. And do you know where the win came from? Look at the portfolio right now. It's 22,330. We were down about 1,000 off of that just last week. You can see here, boom. Look at the portfolio dropping. We are back up, because of our friend Rivian. Rivian had some news this week that Volkswagen is going to invest $5 billion into their business in a partnership for electric vehicles. We saw the Rivian stock price absolutely hammer up right all the way up to $18. It went almost 50% up in one day and then came back down to earth. So now we're sitting at 14.28. For just a minute, the portfolio had everything in the green, but we were down quite a bit with this Rivian stock, and I was thinking about ejecting at some point, but now we're down only 5.8%. I think the stock again should perform fine. I wish I could claim that I knew that something like that was going to happen to Rivian, but I didn't. So just thankful to hold on to the stock. So Creative Realities is still hanging around at 4.38 US dollars. Coinbase 224. So we've had a bit of a downturn week because of the cryptocurrency market taking a bit of a hit. Bitcoin now at 61,498. Ethereum has gone up a little bit because we should see the Ethereum ETF coming out within the next week. I do believe there's an article on Reuters saying could be launched the ETF for Ethereum by July 4th. If that is the case, you should see these Ethereum prices start to really jump up. Could take the rest of the crypto with them. And then Valco Energy still just ticking along. Points. What are we now? Almost 40% in the green. So yeah, the portfolio has had a good week. Nvidia's not been doing so well. It's down 8.4% in the week, but swings and roundabouts with the portfolio as we continue on with that. Last really quick, another email. Hi Lawrence, weekly watcher of the YouTube channel, not always live, but enjoy the content. Thank you very much. I know this is not really financial stuff, but I thought you might be able to help. I've really struggled with my weight since my 20s. I'm trying to turn that around. I know you're into healthy eating, fitness. Do you have any quick advice you can share about healthy food options, green shakes? I hope to drop a couple of stone by the end of the year and could use some motivation. Thanks, Emil, Geordie, and Bradford. I think I got those names mixed up. Retirement was from Des in Cardiff, and this was from Geordie and Bradford. Yeah, Geordie, I was talking about the retirement stuff. I don't know how old you are, but your health is everything. So I'll show you a quick recipe. If you want to screenshot this, you're quite welcome to. But I drink this twice a day. I'd say it's a healthy-ish green shake, depending on what you're trying to achieve in life. But 2 big handfuls of spinach, 2 bits of broccoli. When I say bits, you talk about the heads and the stalks. You can put it all in there. Handful of blueberries. You can add whatever fruit you want. No fruit juice. Don't put fruit juice in these shakes. Fruit juice is just full of sugar. 2 spoons of non-fat Greek yogurt. 2 scoops of protein powder. If you want to do that, you can. Look for ingredients, low ingredients in protein powder. A lot of protein powders have a lot of fillers in them. You can see like 20 different ingredients. You want to look for very basic protein powders. Sometimes the vegan ones are good, where it just has whey isolate protein and usually 1 or 2 different ingredients on top of that. Nothing bad. Also, a handful of peanuts and 2 seconds pour of water, blend it up. That is my shake that I've eaten 2 of those, drunk 2 of those probably for the last 10 years. Yeah, so anything with green in it is really good. Stay away from the processed food. It's really quite simple. Look at this. This disorder has almost killed me. His addiction to ultra-processed food began as a child. This guy is talking about how he just craves ultra-processed food. So basically processed food is if you go into the interior aisles in the supermarket, you're going to see stuff in boxes. That is called ultra-processed food. Stick to the vegetables and the fruits that are on the outside aisles. There's a lot of good information, too, about just the bad stuff they put in the fast food. There's a really, really good video. His name is Paul Saladino. He's a doctor. And he goes into this McDonald's and orders the food and then goes through the ingredients of some of the McDonald's foods that you might like to eat, like Big Macs, chicken nuggets, and things like that. Even just the sauces that you can get. They're putting really, really bad ingredients in a lot of this food. So just stay away from that. Whole foods, that's really it. It's quite simple. You do that and you exercise. Try to get 30 minutes of exercise in. I know it's hard for some people, but that's just the way it is. If you want to lose weight, you got to exercise. And stick to the whole foods. I'll just put that recipe up again if you want to take a screenshot. And this actually does taste pretty good. A lot of protein powders can be a little bit yuck, but if you mix it with these other things, you can even get flavored Greek yogurt. It's actually very edible and tastes more like a milkshake. You could also use almond milk if you didn't want to use the water. I don't personally do that, but yeah, it tastes pretty good. But good on you for, taking a hold of this issue. I know weight's a difficult thing for some people. Obesity has become a big problem in some first world countries. So well done to you, Geordie. I know it's not easy. And just stick at it. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a while. It's like building money for retirement, right? You just don't get there in a week. You have to put a little bit in at a time, and hopefully eventually you have enough money to where you can retire. It's like that with weight and fitness. You do a little bit every day. Track it too. That's really important. Track what you're eating, and then if you track, that's good for your motivation because you can actually see some of the gains that you're making. Like you're able to run a little bit. You start tracking it. That's good for your motivation. Then track your weight. Write down your weight every day, and you can see how far you're getting along. And if your weight's not coming off, it's usually 90% diet. Whatever you're eating, you're not eating the right stuff. You're eating too much. So track it. That would be my advice. I hope that's helpful. I know we went through a lot of stuff today. I'm going to have a quick read of your comments. Hit that thumbs up if you can. I appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. It's great. It's great that you're here. It's amazing how quickly an hour goes. Don't forget, July 18th, Louis from LoanPad. Alan Stratford retired at 52. That is really impressive. How did you do it, Alan? Tell everybody how you did it. Peter Vince, been retired for a decade. I don't know how old you are, Peter, but that's pretty cool. Paul New retired at 58. Look at you guys. You're amazing. I had a good pension from fire service and savings. So you're a fireman. Good. Congratulations. Hi, John from Nottingham. Alan, Annabelle. Hi from Spain. Not retired yet, but selling up my UK rental property with the threat of a Labour government looming large. Nice. Stephen Hale retired at 56 last year. Congrats. Married, no kids, and invested money for 20 years. Very cool. I'm not retired, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'm still grinding. Hi, Mike Powell. How are you? Dave Dawson retired at 54. Investing did it for me. That's a beautiful thing. It seems like a lot of you retired in your 50s. That's so cool. John Day retired 14 years ago. How old are you? After running our business down over 2 years, finished up with my favorite customers. Cool. This is really good advice from Stephen. Depending on outgoings and lifestyles, cut your cloth to what you can afford and budget well. Excellent advice. Mike Powell, you are our resident expert. Yes, you are, of Lendy. That's true. The return across the Lendy book is 30%. Okay, it's a little bit better than what I thought. But I guess it depends on what you're invested in, right? The recovery from the directors goes to the general estate, not to the lenders. Well, there you go. Thank you for the correction. Most of the loan book has been resolved. Thanks for posting this too, Mike. If anyone's interested, Able Rate has a new portal for updates on the administration to lenders. Cool. Details on the platform. Stephen Hale, my dad retired at 60 and died 2 years later. Makes you think about life. What you can do earlier. I'm sorry to hear that. Wow, that's young, 62. Paul Bagworth, I'm planning retirement next year. I am 61. Des should perhaps consider boosting his pension and getting his tax back. You can go back 3 years if I remember correctly. My poor dad died from third bout of cancer when he was just semi-retired at 63. It changed my way of thinking. Make sure you have enough to lice on. You mean to live on. Invest. Well, enjoy life. Totally agree. Sorry about your dad. That's super sad. Yeah, one of the tricky things about retirement is you don't know how long you're going to live for. If you live to be 100, what do you do? A lot of good comments. Retirement age was 65 for donkey's years, now 67. Case in point, they can always change it. Don't rely on that government pension. Non-fat yogurt. Need to debate that one. I don't know if it has a good sugar content. I'll have to look into that. Good fat is good. Processed fat is really bad. Yes, good fat. Avocado, nuts, etc., etc. Good fat. Sugar is bad. Flavored yogurt, no good. Flavor it yourself with real fruit and spices. There you go. I don't claim to know everything. Chimbo Naughty is hoping to retire early next century. Okay. Good for you, Darren. I hope you do get to retire. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed the stream. It's 3:41 here in cloudy Orlando. So I'm going to get out of here and go do some exercise, take the dog for a walk. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for joining. Don't forget, July 18th, we'll have Louis from Lone Pad. It's not too far away now. Live on the stream, 7:30 p.m. UK time. All being well, sometimes people do reschedule, but hopefully he'll be here on the 18th. That is the plan. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. There's more to life than money. Go out, have fun, play golf, hit the beach, enjoy that weather. And I will see you next time. Take care. That's all I got for you.